Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan. I'm Askar Sherliyev, and here are the headlines.
Live forecasts of experts in opposition referendum. Astana businessmen sued the financial police. Trials with the law enforcement are becoming more frequent. Employees of the National Bank plant trees in the park of the first president.
Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair agreed to help Kazakh President Nazarbayev to overcome the critique of the world community for the shooting of oil workers in Zhanaozen. This is the message of Azatik with a reference to the British Telegraph. The national leader via the Kazakh government is the key client of consulting services of the firm of the former British Prime Minister. The contract is worth £16 million. The office of Tony Blair has confirmed the information on his new activities regarding Kazakhstan.
Per contract, his task is to improve the government of Kazakhstan. Obviously, improving the state structure of Kazakhstan in the field of human rights will in turn enhance its public image. On the other hand, I doubt that Tony Blair's advice will be popular in Kazakhstan because political reforms cannot coexist with the current regime. The regime will very much terminate itself by implementing the reforms offered by Tony Blair. I do not believe that Akorda would go for it.
According to the statistics of the Kazakhstan Bureau on Human Rights, the claims by Kazakh citizens are mainly filed against the lawlessness and corrupt nature of law enforcement. On Tuesday, Astana businessman Alexander Masly announced a woe to the entire institution, the financial police. This, however, is not a precedent and looks more like a tendency. Astana human rights defender Anton Fabri filed a lawsuit against the same agency, while 1 year ago pensioner Meirman Zhazilbekov tried to sue with the leader of the nation, all in vain. All three citizens want to be heard and understood.
Businessman Alexander Masly entangled the leadership of the country's financial police department in litigation. After being conned, the owner of a construction company attempted to complain about the incident to the main anti-corruption agency of Kazakhstan. His petition, however, was left unanswered, and the department head refused an audience without citing any reasons. How do the financial police fight corruption if it shuts the door to the people's faces and installs armed guards at the front? When we told them we could easily take away their guns, they placed a colonel there and locked the doors. That's what they call anti-corruption activity. It's laughable. Masly is not the only one who encountered a similar situation. Another Astana resident and human rights activist Anton Fabri came to the court to support the businessman. A month ago, he also had to deal with a suit, this time against the leadership of the supervisory agency. The complaint, though, was similar as the general prosecutor refused to meet with Fabri, and the court later dropped the case altogether. We will have a precedent on our hands since the case is really simple, legally speaking. On one hand, we deal with public liaison, but on the other hand, it is indeed a very important matter. It just shows that senior officials like the Prosecutor General and head of the financial police do not want to deal with the problems of ordinary citizens. I addressed the president complaining about the administration head, but received an answer from the head secretary Kabeldzin. By doing this, they equated the president's authority with Kabeldzin's red tape. Unlike others, the 67-year-old Meirman Zhazilbekov went straight ahead to the president, filing a suit against him 5 years ago. City authorities, along with real estate developers, wanted to raise his house in downtown, but the pensioner stood his ground and won initially. While the litigation continued, Zhazilbekov sent numerous complaints to the head of state, but the administration did its best to ignore the issue. The court refused to accept his suit against the president, but the experience fighting against the bureaucracy is still valuable, says the senior citizen. We have to deal with all of the court decisions and definitions very carefully and prevent them from taking shape. If any of them were approved in my case, I would lose my home a long time ago. But I don't let it happen and immediately submit appropriate complaints against actions of the court, prosecutor, defendant, or the plaintiff. That's what saves me to this day. All three activists fighting for their right to be heard chose to protest next to the building of the Interior Ministry. Unfortunately, the improvised rally almost ended with arrests for its participants, who ironically enough now plan to address the matter in court.
The initiative group on referendum decided to take a timeout due to Nowruz celebrations. During the holiday, they have to conduct the final calculation of all those gathered to express their opinion. The group will also prepare all the documents which have to be submitted to the Central Elections Commission. After the holidays, the initiative group will gather again to define further actions. However, the forecasts of experts and organizers of the referendum are very cautious and even negative at times.
I believe the idea of a referendum does not stand a chance, since the legislation allows the authorities to block it at any stage. Perhaps there will be some room for political maneuvers, and it will not be immediately rejected, but the process will be definitely protracted. Nevertheless, I think it's fairly obvious that the referendum will never take place. As part of the initiative group, we would not take any action without the support of the population. It's all up to the people in the end. Nothing happens if the decision is in the interest of a selected few, and the majority shows no support. We need the support, and especially the support of young people.
Almaty held a presentation of the book The Twilight Zone, or Traps of the Transformation Period. Authors are the members of the Alliance of Analytical Organizations of Kazakhstan. Special attention of the publication was paid to the issue of change of power. Analysts question the deficit of names and personalities in the expert fields of the country.
The Twilight Zone is not hot news anymore, but it is still a major event. Journalists really enjoy discussing various scenarios for the change of government. Authors say the book is intended for a wide audience. It includes entertaining politics and futuristic elements. Yes, the question was put on the agenda. However, it was not clear to whom the subject was addressed. It seemed that there were a lot of empty words. The same people gathered to discuss the same questions. That is why for us it was important to address the issue to those who take political decisions. It is not yet clear how the big shots responded to the book, but it was written without the need for a scientific rationale. The book was based on personal experience of local political analysts. However, the journalist Yerzhan Suleimanov says that Kazakhstan is experiencing a shortage of qualified personnel, including political analysts. Yerzhan believes that a diploma alone is not enough. Normally, there are no facts that would back up the research. This is the way the government and the opposition work, and people only have to take everything on trust. The worst thing is when people take decisions based on beliefs. Despite minor criticism, authors have already found their readers and are now waiting for the government's response.
Next in our bulletin.
Kazakh citizen Denis Ten wins silver in Canada at the World Championship. Kaz Hydromet warns of rapid warming and melting of snow. Emergencies Ministry is controlling the situation. Healthcare Ministry offers to forbid selling cigarettes near schools and hospitals.
On Tuesday, leading economists of the country, the founding fathers of the financial system of Kazakhstan, planted trees in the park of the first president. Find out the rest of the details in the next report.
It took the staff of the National Bank only about 30 minutes to finish the landscaping of the first president's park. Despite the heels and expensive outfits, the bankers of the Department of Financial Stability demonstrated their commitment to agricultural issues. This is the opportunity to ask at least someone and something. The former chairman of the National Bank, Kadirjan Damitov, is questioned about the overall situation of the banking system in our country. Prior to the crisis, the banks got a bit carried away with the access to foreign markets. There were very few foreign outlets in the past 5 years. However, I believe that it makes sense to reasonably access the markets at low interest rates these days due to foreign bank significant reduction. Bank employee Kalibek Ahmedjanov, with 45 years of experience, came to see how do the younger generations of bankers cope with the household plot. The veteran shared his opinion regarding the work of regulated banks. It's not a secret for anyone that banks in our country are not in the best shape. They borrow money from foreigners and cannot get out of debts. There's no reason to keep such banks in the country. If a bank cannot pay its way, then it's not really a bank. Head of the National Bank, Grigory Marchenko, has not made it to the alley on Tuesday after all. Apparently, he was preparing for the online conference. Journalists were interested in one hot topic, the merging of pension funds and the fate of pension savings system. During the pre-crisis period, some of the funds had deals with affiliated persons, and those deals brought losses. In case if the fund remains alone, it'll be managed by the National Bank, which would allow eliminating the risk of signing deals with affiliated persons. It is worth noting that establishing the United Pension Savings Fund will allow us to stop the malignant migration of depositors from one fund to another, which was contributing towards the general decline in efficiency of the system. Grigory Marchenko practically did not say anything about the social changes for people of Kazakhstan, while quite a few financial managers of the country who happened to be planting trees on Tuesday were very reluctant in answering the right questions.
Smoke-free zone within the radius of 500 meters from schools, hospitals and sports centers is planned to be legally introduced by the Healthcare Ministry. Entrepreneurs are categorically against this amendment to the law on health.
Altanay Turuzbekova has been a street vendor for 2 years now, selling a limited selection of goods like sunflower seeds, snacks, and cigarettes. The pension is so tiny that instead of enjoying retirement, the elderly woman has to spend her days at the busiest city intersection, interacting with passers-by. I earn just enough to buy food, cover the bus fare for children, and that's it. Had I gone rich doing what I do, I would not sit here every single day. I would have bought an apartment and enjoyed my retirement. People like Altanay Turuzbekova and thousands other bigger entrepreneurs may soon lose their income if the authorities ban them from selling tobacco within 500 meters of education or medical facilities. During a press conference in Almaty, entrepreneurs and union members said that adoption of amendments to the health law would promote underground tobacco sale. Also, it is believed not all officials agree with the new initiative. The Justice Department and other involved agencies have dropped the concept after reviewing it. It was considered corruption-prone and not even remotely relevant to the goals pursued by the current bill developers. Artist Janatbek Bartanov is a smoker and a law-abiding citizen. He, however, does not believe that the law on the ban of tobacco sales will ever be enforced. It would stand a chance if there were stricter laws. The order comes from the top, which means senior officials have to become role models first. I do not think that it can work. Critics of the amendment to the new health code cite the example of Uzbekistan. Last year, the neighbor also banned the sale of tobacco near schools and hospitals. 2 months later, the government was forced to drop it due to a sharp increase in underground tobacco trade and reduction of tax revenues. At this point, Kazakhstan's MPs still have 3 more months to review the amendments proposed by the Health Ministry.
Karaganda students expelled for Harlem Shake were enrolled back. Freshman students Ildar Akhmetov and Kairat Mashtybayev were supported by the education minister personally. Immediately after the statement, the officials of Karaganda State Technical University urgently gathered a disciplinary session, revising the previous decision to expel the students. To recap, former MP Bakhyt Sizdykova asked the minister to intervene into the situation.
I am convinced that as a pioneer of the party and Jasutan, he simply has to support our students and to intercede for them with the university leadership. 5 days ago, in one of the shopping malls of Astana, Sizdykova performed a Harlem Shake in support of Ildar and Kairat. On Monday, the young men apologized for their actions, saying that they did not mean to insult anyone by dancing with a patriotic stand in the background. Apparently, the heart of the minister is not made of stone. On Tuesday, he promised to talk to the rector of the university about the boys. Even though Zhumagulov prefers classical tango, yet the Harlem Shake is not a reason for expulsion. People of a young age do make mistakes, but it's now or never. Therefore, I tend to take the sides of the students, yet neither of them addressed me.
Snowstorm ripped off the roof of the regional maternity hospital in Atyrau, leaving around 100 square meters of the roof uncovered.
The wind tore down the roof of the building, which held mothers and newborns. Yet the rescuers decided not to evacuate neither, saying that a missing roof causes no danger to the patients of maternity hospital. Several houses and district hospitals were also damaged by strong winds. Currently, the Special Commission is estimating the inflicted damage. None of the maternity patients were put in danger. We've managed to continue working. As of today, I believe the local administration and public health is putting an effort to solve the situation.
The MES is gradually taking control over the flood situation in the country. This was said by the Minister of Emergencies, Vladimir Bashko, on Tuesday. Nevertheless, the situation remains tense in the west and east of the country. The eastern Kazakhstan is yet to face negative consequences of snowmelt.
According to the Kazakh Meteorological Center, temperatures will go even higher in the nearest 6 months. Thus, cold days during Nowruz holidays will rapidly change to warm weather in April. The temperatures in the south of the country are forecasted to go up to 37 degrees Celsius above zero. The unusually warm weather will cause rapid snow melting. In fact, this winter's precipitation has beaten all the records. Thus, the first 10 days of March have already brought a monthly precipitation. The Sirdarya, one of the highest risk areas, will probably not cause any floods, as ice has already melted and no jams will occur along the river. Unfortunately, the situation in the eastern part of the country remains alarming. Abundant snowfall and extreme temperatures are expected to cause high waters in East Kazakhstan region. Will it be flooded? Some settlements are currently being flooded. The situation is also alarming in the western part of the country. Minister of Emergency Situations Vladimir Bashko has commented on the situation in Uralsk, where utility services had to cut off water supply on Sunday as flooding caused an increased load on the sewer system. I think the city administration took a right decision to cut off the water supply. Otherwise, the whole city would have been flooded as the sewer system is unreliable. Minister of Emergency Situations calms the population, saying that some local floods can occur, but on the whole the situation is under control. And according to the Kazakh Meteorological Center, after unstable weather in spring, Kazakhstanis will enjoy a hot summer and a pleasant autumn.
Kazakhstan can now claim medals in figure skating. The latest silver medal of figure skater Denis Ten at the World Championship is a subject of special pride for the country. Journalists met with relatives and friends of the skater.
Denis Ten's grandma cannot hold back tears watching this video. These are the tears of pride. Right now, though, she chose to recall how funny the silver-winning skater was growing up as a kid. He used to say the funniest things. Once a friend came over and Dan's mom was complaining how hard everything was for her. Denis was only 2.5 at the time, but he said, "Mom, let me help you." "How can you help me if you can barely walk?" she asked. And he told her, "You just tell me what to do." Although Denis first started skating at the age of 4, Serena never imagined that one day her grandson will become a medalist at the Winter Olympics. It seems that even his coaches had their doubts, but Denis still became a skating role model no matter what. This is a real joy for Kazakhstan since it really reaches a new level. It'll be much easier for kids to follow in his steps since everyone knows Kazakhstan now. Natalia Subotina also takes her son figure skating, although she is quite reserved when it comes to future achievements. Natalia says that Kazakhstan simply lacks conditions for grooming champions. We lack the basics like real ice and proper facilities. There is also a huge problem with choreography coaches. We have to look for them everywhere and then beg to work with our kids. Nevertheless, Denis Ten is now considered a true pathbreaker since no one before him ever won a medal in such an exotic sport for Kazakhstan. Seasoned athletes are now waiting for another miracle. A single skating palace will never solve the problem, since it has to suit everyone, including short trackers, hockey players, and figure skating. It's never enough time for all of them, and several hours is just too little for professional sessions. 60 years ago, we spent days training.
Veramente un programma straordinario. C'è tutto il pubblico in piedi. Significa.
Unfortunately, Denis Ten himself was not available for comment today, since right now he's on a trip to the United States.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching and have a good day.